What if I told you that all of human history, every conflict, every triumph, could be boiled down to one single epic duel? A battle between two forces that started way back at the dawn of our species and, believe it or not, is still going on inside each of us today. That's the incredible idea from Alija Izetbegović that we're going to unpack together.
It all starts with two totally different moments in time. On one side, you've got the very first tool, a sharpened rock, a heavy branch. It's smart, for sure, an extension of animal intelligence, kind of like a continuation of evolution. But then, on the other side, something else happens, something brand new, the first cult. Maybe someone drew a circle around a grave or saw a face in a cloud. This had nothing to do with survival. It was a spiritual act, something biology just can't explain on its own.
And right there, from those two starting blocks, a tale of two completely separate histories kicks off. This is the origin story for a deep-seated dualism that pretty much defines what it means to be human. And here's the kicker. We're not living one story. We're living two at the exact same time. You've got the history you can measure, the external one, the history of our tools, of science, of progress, and then you've got this whole other story happening inside. The history of the human drama, of our art, our spirit, and our search for meaning. Now, these two parallel histories, they have names that help us get a handle on them: culture and civilization. And they perfectly represent that constant push and pull between our inner and our outer worlds. So, first up, let's talk about civilization. This is basically the history of the tool, but blown up to cover all of society. It's our intelligence working on the natural world. It's science, technology, government, economics, the whole shebang. And its one and only goal? To perfect things, to make them more efficient, more powerful, more organized. And then in the other corner, we have culture. This is the direct descendant of that first cult. It's not about influencing nature, it's about the influence of the spirit on us, and maybe even more importantly, our influence on ourselves. This is our art, our philosophy, our religion, and its goal isn't to perfect things, it's to make us more human. This table really just lays out the opposition perfectly. Let's walk through it, because it's pretty eye-opening. The focus of culture is inward, on man. Civilization looks outward, to nature. The method of culture is art and spirit, while civilization's method is science and logic. Their goals couldn't be more different, making man better versus making things better. But okay, pay close attention to this last one, desire. This is so critical. Culture, at its best, helps us reduce our needs, to find contentment. Civilization, it is a machine built to constantly create new needs. So, what happens when these two forces get completely out of whack? Well, that brings us right to the heart of the crisis in our modern world, this feeling that progress itself might actually be working against us. I mean, let's be honest. If you look at almost any external metric, civilization has totally won. The history of the tool is the only story we seem to tell anymore. We have more power, more data, more stuff than at any point in history. But this incredible triumph forces us to ask a really tough question. What was the cost? And you can see that paradox right here. That bar on the left, our technological progress, it's shooting for the moon. It's higher than it's ever been. But at the same time, that other bar, representing a lot of our markers for human happiness and well-being, well, it's lagging way behind. In some cases, it's even going down. And this isn't just a vague feeling of unhappiness. The source material points to some really disturbing and concrete consequences of this imbalance. Right in the middle of all this abundance, we're seeing things like rising suicide rates, a massive increase in mental health crises, the growth of social problems like alcoholism and delinquency, and of course, the decay of the very environment that keeps us alive. So who's seeing this crisis the clearest? Well, the source argues it's often not the scientists who are naturally optimistic about progress. No, it's the artists, the poets, the playwrights. They're like the canaries in the coal mine for the human soul. And they keep showing us this picture of a helpless, aggressive, and deeply empty person standing right in the middle of all this material wealth. All of this just leads you to one unavoidable question you have to ask yourself. Is this constant, relentless push for more, faster, and better, is it really progress? Or have we just built ourselves a really, really comfortable trap?
But okay, this whole line of thinking doesn't just end in doom and gloom. It moves from diagnosing the problem to looking for a solution, a search for balance, which the source calls a third way.
Now, this is so important. This is not about rejecting technology or becoming a Luddite. The solution is not to reject civilization. It's to destroy its myth, that dangerous idea that material progress is the only kind of progress that matters and that it can somehow solve all our deeply human problems.
So how do we find this harmony? Well, it breaks down into a few clear steps. First, we just have to admit that this dualism is real, that spirit and matter, culture and civilization are both vital parts of us. Then, we have to actively try to create a synthesis to find ways for them to work together. And finally, we have to consciously try to rebalance the scales, to give the needs of our inner world, our culture, just as much weight as the demands of our outer civilization.
At the end of the day, what this third way is really all about is harmonizing our outer life of doing, of building and achieving and controlling, with our inner life of being, of finding meaning, of creating, and of connecting to something bigger than ourselves.
And that really leaves us with one final, huge question to carry with us. A question that honestly gets more urgent with every passing day. In a world that is so completely built by and for our tools, how do we remember to be human?